Well, I thought I'd start today to just tell you a little preamble into my speech. But in January this year, in Brussels, in a committee room, and I sit on the FEM committee, which is it's women's issues, and I made, I thought, a very relevant comment to the people in that room. It was to raise the issue of the women in Cologne that had been abused on New Year's Eve. And I mentioned about their safety in a very sensitive, sensible way. And I was completely attacked and screamed at by, you will be surprised about this, a Labour lady MEP. So I wasn't having any of that, and there was another MEP, a Hungarian lady, who also agreed with me that we needed very much to raise the issues of what had happened to those women in Cologne. It was just the tip of the iceberg, which we were later to understand really what did happen and has continued to happen. So that was how they treated us for looking at a very sensitive, serious issue, which we genuinely tried to find the right words to be constructive. Anyway, so that is the preamble to what happened. Nigel Farage took the information because it was streamlined on camera, and he made some very strong, good speeches with reference to that particular situation. So this afternoon, I'd really like to take that just a little bit further. And really to talk about Western Europe, which has effectively been subject to two separate waves of immigration. And that's very much thanks to EU policies. The first wave arose from free movement and the non-discrimination rules. And it consisted of people from Central and Eastern Europe, the 204 and post-204, largely former communist accession states. That's no criticism attaches to these people at all. They exercised their EU legal rights. But it was entirely predictable and damaging in its effects, which of course included holding down wages, especially for the less qualified and those unskilled, and those in traditional trades too, stretching the infrastructure, medical services, hospitals, schools, but also the benefit system, the infamous tax credit, which linked to low wages and cost taxpayers a great deal of money, even when migrants are hard-working, which many are. Even so, at least these people are culturally similar and often old-fashioned in their values. Many are Christian, hard-working, and get our culture. Far worse is the second wave, who add cultural insult to economic injury. And what do I mean by this? They are the refugees, the asylum seekers, and the economic migrants from the Middle East and Africa. The truth is that the legal distinction between refugees and economic migrants simply does not work in practice. It never could. Whichever they are, and too many are young men, certainly for my liking, so where are the elderly, the women, the children? They're even poorer than those from Eastern Europe, many destitute, desperate, to find a better way of life in the richer West. They also culturally are very different, operating to different norms and standards. I may have worried about the economic impact of the Poles or the Lithuanians on jobs and schools and hospitals and taxpayers, but I did not, by and large, worry about the safety of our women walking down our streets. It is an uncomfortable truth that the new breed of mixed refugees and economic migrants from very poor countries, far poorer than almost anywhere in Europe, in many cases neither understand nor share our values. They do not understand that a young woman in a short skirt, no veil, is not available and has every right to walk down the street without catcalling or molestation or worse. That she has the right to meet her friends for an alcoholic drink or two, if that is what she wants. It is her choice. And to take a taxi or a bus home in the safety without fearing what might happen. Our society is becoming nastier, more fear-ridden, not because of our reaction to these people, but because of their values and behaviour. Worse than the nastiness, it goes to the heart of the deep-rooted problem in our culture and the traditions that many of them have. And one practice in particular, FGM, is the barbaric torture of girls, very much to us, and a criminal offence. In much of North Africa and part of the Middle East, it is a norm, a cultural standard. Are we supposed to respect that culture and those traditions? I think it is intolerable, I think it's an abomination to put too many of the multiculturalists and the political correct. It is an embarrassment. It's a taboo subject. So they will sacrifice the sexuality, even the lives of thousands of young women, on the altar of not giving offence. That is what I find truly offensive. So they and their traditions and values, they're not the problem, not us. Their behaviour and fears it generates are the problem, not our reaction. All of this was predictable and forecastable. The consequence of open doors, the free movement of people, the EU non-discrimination rules, and the EU asylum policies, and the failure to apply common sense behavioural analysis about the incentives being provided and how people from poorer countries might be expected to react. We should not blame the migrants themselves, even the fit young men. They are simply people who respond perfectly rationally to the absurd, Orwellian, perverse incentives that they are given. We should blame foolish politicians, myopic bureaucrats in Brussels, certainly, but also in Westminster, in Berlin and Paris, who have forgotten who elects them and who pays their wages. Only by seizing the Brexit opportunity can we in the UK move on, address these problems, build better lives for all our fellow citizens in all of our country. I am inclusive. I want better lives for all, including White Van Man and his partner and his family, and the people mocked by Labour, hated by the Corbynites, and quietly despised by many Tories with their sense of educated, affluent superiority. That means a clean Brexit. And it also means UKIP success. Success, bringing common sense, proper cause and effect, behavioural analysis to British political debate. Success in restoring an incentive structure which makes sense and works. Only UKIP are honest enough to say these things and to put in place the policies needed to act upon them. And that is why UK and the UK, more essentially, we need to be able to be there to place our values in front of the British people. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you will very much go out there and make sure that we not only Brexit, but we get more UKIPers out there knocking on doors doing our very best to make sure we get our message out there in a fair and reasonable way, because we are fair and reasonable people. Thank you.
Well, the next speaker, we were very lucky last night, those that attended the meal, because he sung a tune for us. He sung Jerusalem. And when he asked to sing, I thought, well, it's going to go two ways, really. It's either going to be very good or very poor. Either way, it's going to be entertainment. Although he is Scottish, he sang Jerusalem, should I say. Obviously, after England beating them 3-0. So without further ado, Aaron, the floor is yours.